Yes. Okay. So I want to ask as well. I mean, firstly, yes, we have seen a big drop in the number. I think it was in the first quarter of this year, the number dropped significantly compared to 2022. But I think that could be partly attributed to the terrible British weather as well. Let's see what happens sort of from now on in terms of numbers. But Tim, you did say as well that Albania should apologise to the UK for this situation. Now you're on Albanian TV as well. Does this stand? Who should apologise and for what exactly?
Well, I'm not sure I've asked for Albania to apologise. I think we've all asked for Albania to continue the good cooperation which we now have between the Albanian authorities and British authorities. And when we were in Tirana in March, we met many people working through the embassy, through our National Crime Agency, through the army operation, through Border Force and others. And they're working very closely with the Albanian authorities. So I'm not quite sure where you got that information from, but clearly there was a problem, particularly last year, when 28% of all those people trying to come across the channel in that way. And whatever you think about how many people should come to the UK, how many asylum seekers we should take, coming across by paying people smugglers, criminal gangs in the busiest shipping route in the world is absolutely the worst possible way to try to get to the UK. Now we have agreements with the Albanian government where those people who've come to the UK without a claim on asylum and they've been rejected are being returned to Albania, and that's a helpful agreement for both our countries. You don't need to lose so many of your members of your population who need to be contributing to the Albanian economy. And obviously, there are other people who have a better claim if they're claiming asylum than people coming from Albania. And I'm afraid we found really no grounds on which people from Albania should be routinely claiming asylum in order to try to come to the UK. Most other European countries just do not accept those asylum claims from Albania.
Daniel, one moment. Obviously, you deal with this matter quite a lot. What do you think about this? You know, this what Tim said, which is there is no grounds for sort of routine asylum applications. Yes, there are some women that are trafficked, etc. What's your stance on this?
Well, I think first of all, Tim obviously I have huge respect for his work with trafficking and particularly children trafficking. But in this situation, when we're starting to say women or men, that's a very dangerous area because the national referral mechanism in the UK actually has more Albanian men going through it and being referred to it than women. But when it comes to asylum claims, women are more likely to have their claim recognised. And that comes down at times to a misunderstanding and a lack of awareness amongst certain people between forced labour and being trafficked for that and being trafficked for sexual trafficking. So I always worry when people start saying about gender differences on that because it's important to look at this in the whole. Now, Tim mentioned before about small boat crossings. We did see a peak and we've seen that drop off now. And the data on that's still being analysed for why that could be. There's a potential that there are people who've said we're not going to try again, but there's also a potential that different routes are being used. 1 in 8 of those people who did cross the channel, though, was referred to the national referral mechanism. That was a recognition of trafficking. But it's not just trafficking that people are seeking asylum from. UNHCR has warned that Albania, for some people, is not a safe country. That's not saying for everybody, but that's why individual claims need to be processed, because it's not just trafficking. There are still issues with blood feuds, despite attempts to tackle that. That's a historic issue. There is also discrimination against certain minority groups, and there are high levels of domestic violence. So these are all things which combine, meaning that when you say it's a safe country, you really do have to go down into this and look at each individual claim very, very carefully on that.
Tim, you've heard from Daniel there saying, you know, that it's a lot more complex than saying there's no routine approach. I mean, I've lived here for 6 years. I am well aware of the situation with regards to blood feuds, which was very much dismissed in the parliamentary report, domestic violence, trafficking that affects boys as well, problems with pressure from organised crime, lack of access to justice if you're a victim. You know, there are many, many reasons why people have their life endangered or their rights taken away from them, and they feel their only option is to seek asylum. I know a trans woman recently who has sought asylum elsewhere because she was unable to leave the house, because she kept getting attacked. You know, Do you not think that this report sort of serves as a political tool rather than actually getting down to the point of the fact that, yes, Albania is a safe country, it's not at war, but that does not mean it's safe for everybody in every case?
Report does not serve as a political tool. This is a report of the Home Affairs Select Committee, which is a cross-party committee of MPs which scrutinise the work of the Home Office. It is not there to do the political bidding of the government or any other party, so it's certainly not a political report. We are there to take evidence on an issue which is very topical and is causing great concern and great expense in the United Kingdom. And what we were absolutely united in is that there are very few cases whereby asylum claims from Albania should be routinely considered, certainly in contrast to many other countries where they are very clearly escaping persecution and danger. Now, of course, there will be individuals who are suffering from various forms of persecution and crime in Albania. Of course it is. We didn't downplay blood feuds. I don't know where you got that from if you've read the report.
Yes, yeah.
But it does not make it inevitable that they should come to the United Kingdom, and certainly not in the numbers that we seem who have been coming to the United Kingdom. Albania is a candidate country to join the EU. It is a signatory to various international trafficking, slavery and refugee conventions.
Daniel, there was a case recently that I saw that Albanian children who were being kept in asylum hotels, was over 150, I think, appeared to have gone missing. And the government wasn't quite sure where they are. Do we have any more recent information on what's happened to these children?
There's been cases where some have been found. Some have been found in systems of exploitation. Quite a large number are still not found. This has been ongoing, though. The figures of 200 was a specific time frame. But I used to work for an anti-child trafficking charity where back in November 2021, we wrote to the Home Secretary and other ministers warning that these hotels were leading to children going missing and leading to exploitation. At the time, we actually met with particularly young Albanians who had been trafficked, and they were warning about this situation because traffickers knew where the hotels were, so we're just waiting for people, effectively. This is a huge, huge issue which I think is flagged across, and I think Tim is probably very well aware of this and supportive of taking measures to protect these children. But it is an ongoing issue that seems to have dropped off the radar quite somewhat. And we know that a lot of these children will be being exploited.